"This is garbage! You're incompetent!" the black-haired woman shouted, throwing the contents of her cup onto Chloe's chest. The hot coffee soaked the barista's apron, and the entire cafe fell silent. "I want you fired! Now! Manager!" the woman demanded. Chloe's 3 young children, sitting at a nearby table, began crying. Chloe, trembling, could only look down at the floor, humiliated. She didn't see the quiet man at the end of the line step forward, his knuckles white as he tightened his grip on his own cup. But before we see what he says, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel and let's get into the full story. I asked for oat milk, not almond milk. "Are you trying to poison me?" Patricia Whitfield's voice cut through the peaceful afternoon hum of Mountain Brew coffee. Chloe Matthews kept her face calm despite the harsh words. "I'm sorry, Miss Whitfield. I used oat milk as you requested. Let me make you a fresh one." It was 4:30 on a Friday afternoon in the Seattle coffee shop. Chloe had been on her feet since 7 that morning, her curly hair pulled back in a tight bun that was starting to loosen after hours of steam and movement behind the counter. Her green barista apron had small coffee stains despite her careful work. In the corner of the shop, 3 identical 10-year-old boys sat at their regular table. Jaden, the most outspoken of the triplets, looked up from his math homework with a frown. He nudged his brothers. "Mom looks stressed," he whispered. Mason, always the observer, adjusted his glasses. "That's the lady who always complains, every single time." Tyler, the quietest triplet, just watched with worried eyes, his pencil forgotten in his hand. Patricia stood at the counter in her expensive beige suit, tapping manicured fingernails against the marble surface. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, and diamond earrings caught the light as she tilted her head impatiently. "I'm hosting the Children's Hospital Gala tomorrow night," she announced loudly to no one in particular while Chloe remade her drink. 500 guests. The mayor will be there. I can't afford to waste time in coffee shops with incompetent staff." Other customers shifted uncomfortably. Many were regulars who knew and liked Chloe. Lisa Chen, a kindergarten teacher who came every afternoon, gave Chloe a sympathetic smile from her table near the triplets. Chloe measured the oat milk carefully, steamed it to exactly 140 degrees, and added the precise amount of vanilla as specified in Patricia's regular order. She double-checked everything before placing the drink on the counter. "Here you are, Miss Whitfield. 1 large vanilla oat milk latte, extra hot with 1 pump of vanilla and light foam. I made sure to use the organic oat milk you prefer." Patricia snatched the cup and took a small sip. Her face immediately twisted into an angry scowl. "This is disgusting! It's too sweet. You added too much vanilla on purpose, didn't you?" Her voice grew louder with each word. "I'm sorry it's not to your liking. I added exactly 1 pump as requested, but I'd be happy to—" "Don't lie to me!" Patricia's face reddened. "You service people think you can just do whatever you want. I spend $7 on coffee here every day. $7! I deserve respect." The shop fell completely silent. Even the music playing over the speakers seemed to have paused at the perfect moment. Every customer watched the scene unfold. "Ms. Whitfield, please lower your voice. I'll remake your drink again." "No charge," Chloe said softly, aware of her sons watching. "You think I care about the money?" Patricia's voice rose even higher. "This is about principle. About doing your job correctly." Before Chloe could respond, Patricia did something no one expected. She lifted the nearly full cup of hot coffee and threw it directly at Chloe. The hot liquid splashed across Chloe's chest and face, soaking her green apron and white shirt underneath. Chloe gasped in pain and shock. The coffee was still hot enough to burn, and she could feel it stinging her skin. But worse than the physical pain was the humiliation of being attacked in front of a shop full of people, including her children. "I want to speak to your manager right now. You should be fired," Patricia demanded, seemingly unaware or uncaring about the horrified looks from other customers. "Mom!" Jaden stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Mason and Tyler rose beside him, their identical faces showing matching expressions of alarm. Darren Williams, the assistant manager, rushed over from the back room. "What's happening out here?" "This woman just assaulted your employee," called out a man in a business suit by the window. "Someone should call the police." Several customers had their phones out, recording the incident. Patricia seemed to finally notice she had an audience and straightened her jacket, attempting to regain her composure. "This barista deliberately sabotaged my order. Twice. I reacted in the moment, but I stand by my complaint. I want to speak to the actual manager, not an assistant." Chloe grabbed paper towels from behind the counter, dabbing at her soaked shirt and fighting back tears. The hot coffee had already left red marks on her skin. Near the back of the line stood a man no one had paid much attention to. He wore jeans and a simple blue button-down shirt with no tie. His brown hair was neatly trimmed, and his hazel eyes were fixed on the scene with an intensity that would have been noticeable if anyone had been looking at him. Michael Thompson had planned to visit this Mountain Brew location anonymously. As CEO, he occasionally checked stores unannounced to see how they really operated when no one knew the boss was watching. But now he stood frozen, staring at the barista who was attempting to maintain her dignity despite coffee dripping from her chin. He knew her face instantly, even after 11 years. Chloe Matthews, his college girlfriend, the woman he'd once thought he might marry before his parents intervened and convinced him to break things off. Then his gaze shifted to the 3 identical boys standing up from their table in the corner, their young faces twisted with concern for their mother. As the boys moved toward the counter, Michael felt his heart stop. He saw his own eyes looking back at him multiplied by 3. He saw his own jawline, his own nose, reflected in smaller versions on those young faces. And he knew. The world seemed to blur around the edges as reality shifted beneath Michael's feet. The woman he had left 11 years ago now stood humiliated in his coffee shop. And those 3 boys, obviously triplets, obviously 10 or 11 years old, obviously looking just like him. They were staring right at him with his own eyes. "Stay there, boys," Chloe called out, her voice strained but firm. "I'm okay. Just stay at the table." "But Mom," Jaden protested, clearly ready to defend her. "Please, Jaden, I need you to watch your brothers right now." The triplets reluctantly returned to their table, but their eyes never left their mother. The oldest-looking one, Jaden, she had called him, kept his fists clenched at his sides. Patricia continued her demands. "I want to speak to someone in charge, a real manager, not some assistant. I'm a Platinum Rewards member and I've spent thousands of dollars at Mountain Brew over the years." Michael took a deep breath and stepped forward. The coffee shop, his company, the angry customer, all of it seemed distant and unimportant compared to the realization thundering through his mind. "I have children, 3 children. With Chloe." He moved toward the counter with purpose now. Patricia was still shouting demands as Darren tried to calm her down. Chloe pressed paper towels against her burning skin, her eyes downcast in humiliation. "Excuse me," Michael said, his voice quiet but carrying enough authority that everyone turned to look at him. "I believe I can help resolve this situation." Chloe looked up, paper towels still pressed to her neck, and her eyes widened in shock as she recognized him. 11 years had passed, but she would know that face anywhere. "Michael," she whispered so softly only those closest could hear. Patricia turned with an irritated expression. "And who exactly are you?" Michael straightened his shoulders and addressed the entire coffee shop. "My name is Michael Thompson. I'm the CEO and owner of Mountain Brew Coffee." He turned his gaze directly to Patricia. "And I just witnessed you assault one of my employees." Patricia's face drained of color. You don't understand, Jenny," Michael called to another barista who stood shocked behind the counter. "Please help Chloe get cleaned up and check if she needs medical attention." He then turned to Darren. "Take over the counter, please." As Jenny led Chloe toward the back room, Michael couldn't help but look once more at the triplets' table. 3 identical faces stared back at him with a mixture of confusion, worry, and something else. Something that suggested they sensed the significant shift happening in their lives. "Those are my sons," he thought, the realization both terrifying and exhilarating. His carefully constructed world was crumbling around him, and somehow, in the middle of this coffee shop crisis, his life had just changed forever. "Ms. Whitfield," Michael said, turning back to Patricia, whose confident demeanor had cracked considerably. "We need to discuss what happened here today, and the serious consequences of throwing hot coffee at another person." But even as he addressed the situation at hand, Michael's mind was already racing ahead to a much more important conversation, one he would soon have with Chloe Matthews about 11 years of secrets and 3 boys who had his eyes. "Ms. Whitfield," Michael continued firmly, "I need to see your Mountain Brew rewards card, please." Patricia's hand trembled slightly as she pulled a platinum card from her designer wallet. "This is ridiculous. You can't possibly be the CEO. You're not dressed like—" Michael held up his company ID badge with his photo and title clearly displayed. "As I was saying, I need your rewards information because you are now banned from all Mountain Brew coffee locations nationwide." The coffee shop remained silent. Several customers continued recording with their phones. Patricia's face turned from pale to bright red. "You cannot ban me. Do you know who I am in this city?" Her voice cracked with indignation. "Someone who assaulted my employee," Michael replied calmly. "Darren, please take a photo of Ms. Whitfield's rewards card and then return it to her." Darren quickly did as instructed while Patricia stood frozen in shock. "Jenny," Michael called to the other barista. "How is Chloe doing?" "She's changing into a spare shirt, but the coffee left some red marks on her skin," Jenny replied from the doorway to the back room. Michael turned back to Patricia. "We'll be sending you a bill for Chloe's medical evaluation and uniform replacement. Consider yourself fortunate that we're not pressing assault charges." "This is outrageous. I'm a platinum member. I spend thousands of dollars here every year." Patricia's voice had lost its commanding tone and now sounded desperate. "Not anymore," Michael said. He then addressed the entire shop. "I apologize to all our customers for this disruption. Your drinks today are complimentary. Darren, please make sure everyone is taken care of." As Patricia gathered her belongings, muttering about lawyers and lawsuits, Michael moved toward the back office. His heart pounded with each step. After 11 years, he was about to face Chloe, and the reality that they apparently had 3 children together. He knocked gently on the office door. "Come in," Chloe called. She was sitting in the manager's chair, wearing a clean Mountain Brew t-shirt that was slightly too large for her frame. Red marks were visible on her neck and collarbone where the hot coffee had hit her skin. "Are you okay?" Michael asked, closing the door behind him. "Physically? I'll be fine," Chloe said, her voice steady but guarded. "Professionally? This is extremely awkward." Michael sat in the chair across from her. The small office suddenly felt even smaller. "Chloe, He stopped, unsure where to begin. "I had no idea you worked here. I visit different locations regularly to check operations. I never expected to find me? Or to find out you're a father?" Chloe asked directly. Michael's breath caught in his throat. "They're mine, aren't they? The triplets." "Yes, Jaden, Mason, and Tyler. They turned 10 last month." Chloe's eyes didn't waver from his face. "Why didn't you tell me?" Michael asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Chloe laughed without humor. "I tried, Michael. When I found out I was pregnant, which was after you suddenly broke up with me and disappeared, I called you repeatedly. Your number was disconnected. I went to your parents' house, and your mother told me you wanted nothing to do with me. She said you had moved on, and I should too." Michael closed his eyes briefly as the weight of this revelation hit him. "My parents never told me you came looking for me. They never said anything about a pregnancy. I even wrote letters," Chloe continued. "I sent them to your parents' address hoping they'd forward them to you. I never heard back. I never received any letters, Michael said, his mind racing. My parents. They must have intercepted everything. Outside the office, they could hear the coffee shop returning to normal operations. Michael glanced through the window blinds and saw the triplets still sitting at their table, now joined by a woman he didn't recognize who appeared to be helping them with homework. Why did you leave, Michael? Everything was good between us, and then suddenly you ended things with no real explanation. The pain in Chloe's voice was still fresh, even after 11 years. Michael ran his hand through his hair, a gesture Chloe remembered from their college days. My parents threatened to cut me off completely. No tuition, no support, nothing. They said you weren't the right kind of person for someone with my future potential. He made air quotes around the last words. They convinced me that ending things cleanly was kinder than dragging it out. Kinder, Chloe repeated flatly. And you believed them. I was 21 and stupid, Michael admitted. By the time I realized what a mistake I'd made, months had passed. I tried to find you, but you had left school. No one knew where you'd gone. I couldn't afford tuition while pregnant. I had to drop out and find full-time work. Chloe's voice was matter-of-fact, but Michael could hear the years of struggle behind her words. Triplets, Michael said softly, looking back toward the window. I can't imagine how difficult that must have been on your own. I didn't know they were triplets until my 5-month ultrasound. By then, I had already decided I would raise my child alone. Chloe pulled out her phone and opened her photo gallery. Here they are as newborns. Michael took the phone with shaking hands. The screen showed 3 tiny babies in hospital bassinets, each with a different colored cap, blue, green, and yellow. They were born 7 weeks early, Chloe explained. Jaden was 4 pounds, Mason was 3 pounds 14 ounces, and Tyler was the smallest at 3 pounds 8 ounces. They spent 3 weeks in the NICU. And you went through all of that alone, Michael whispered, unable to take his eyes off the photo. I had some help. My neighbor Mrs. Jenkins has been like a grandmother to them, and I've always made sure they know they're loved. Chloe took her phone back. They've never asked much about their father, until recently. In the main area of the coffee shop, a raised voice interrupted their conversation. Through the window they could see Patricia had returned and was arguing with Darren. I don't believe that man is really the CEO. I demand to speak to the real manager. Patricia's voice carried even through the closed office door. Michael sighed and stood up. I should deal with this. But Chloe, we need to talk more. About the boys. About everything. My shift ends at 6 o'clock, Chloe said. The boys and I usually walk home together. May I walk with you, or is that too much too soon? Michael asked. Chloe considered for a moment. You can walk with us. But meeting the boys as their father, that's a bigger conversation, one we should have first. Michael nodded. I understand, thank you. As he opened the door to return to the main shop floor, Chloe stopped him with a question. Michael, are you married? Do you have other children? He turned back. No children. I'm engaged, though. The wedding is planned for December. Chloe absorbed this information with a small nod. You should probably mention to your fiancé that your family just expanded by 3. Michael hadn't even thought about Vanessa yet. The revelation about his sons had pushed everything else from his mind. You're right, this affects a lot of people. As Michael stepped back into the main area of the coffee shop, he saw the triplets watching him curiously. The resemblance was unmistakable now that he was looking for it. Jaden, clearly the protective one, narrowed his eyes suspiciously. Mason observed thoughtfully, his expression analytical. Tyler offered a hesitant smile before quickly looking down at his homework. Mr. Thompson, Darren called, looking relieved. This customer has returned and doesn't believe you're really our CEO. Patricia stood with her arms crossed. Anyone can make a fake ID. I've called your corporate office to report this entire situation. Michael approached her calmly. Ms. Whitfield, I assure you that when you reach someone at our corporate headquarters, they will confirm my identity. They will also document your assault on our employee. Now, I must ask you once more to leave the premises." 2 customers who had witnessed the earlier incident stood up as if ready to help escort Patricia out if needed. Seeing their movement, Patricia grabbed her purse. "This isn't over. My husband's law firm will be in touch." She stormed toward the door, pausing only to glare at the triplets' table before leaving. The woman sitting with the boys approached Michael. "Hi, I'm Lisa Chen. I teach at Westview Elementary where the boys go to school. Is Chloe okay?" "She's shaken up but handling it well," Michael replied, unable to stop himself from glancing at the triplets again. "Thank you for staying with the boys." "They're wonderful kids," Lisa said with genuine affection. "We regulars are all pretty protective of this family." Family. The word echoed in Michael's mind. His family. These 3 boys with his eyes and Chloe's smile were his sons. Sons he hadn't known existed until 20 minutes ago. "I appreciate that," Michael said sincerely. "Would you mind staying with them a bit longer? Chloe and I need to finish discussing how to handle what happened today." "Of course," Lisa agreed, returning to the boys. Michael glanced at his watch. 4:45. In just over an hour, he would be walking home with Chloe and their sons. The sons he had never known. The family he didn't realize he had. His phone vibrated in his pocket. Vanessa was calling. The screen showed her photo, elegant, poised, and perfect for the role of CEO's wife. Michael silenced the call. That conversation would have to wait. Right now, he needed to figure out how to meet his children for the first time, even if they didn't yet know who he really was. Michael returned his phone to his pocket and approached Darren behind the counter. "I'm going to close the shop early today. All employees will receive full pay for their scheduled shifts." "Yes, sir, Mr. Thompson," Darren replied, clearly still surprised to be speaking directly to the CEO. Michael addressed all the staff. "Everyone handled a difficult situation professionally today. Thank you for that. Please take the rest of the evening off." As the baristas began cleaning procedures, Michael returned to the office where Chloe was gathering her belongings. "I've decided to close early," he told her. "Everyone's getting full pay for their shifts." Chloe nodded. "That's generous. The team will appreciate it." "About walking home with you and the boys," Michael said, lowering his voice. "I was thinking, would it be possible for me to meet them properly? Not just as the CEO who helped their mom, but as—" He trailed off, unsure how to finish. Chloe studied his face. "As their father." "Michael, that's a big step. They don't even know you exist." "What have you told them about me?" Michael asked. "That their father was someone I loved in college who wasn't ready for a family," Chloe replied. "I never said anything bad about you." "I didn't want them carrying resentment." Michael felt a rush of gratitude for her kindness. "Thank you for that. But you're right. Meeting them is a big step. Maybe we could start with dinner? Get to know each other a little?" Chloe hesitated, then sighed. "Fine. We could have dinner at our apartment tonight. It's small, but it's home." "Thank you," Michael said. "I'll need to cancel some meetings, but this is more important." Chloe wrote her address on a piece of paper. 7 o'clock? I'll make spaghetti. It's their favorite. 7 o'clock, Michael confirmed. I'll be there. As Chloe left the office to collect the boys, Michael made several calls. First to his assistant, canceling his evening appointments. Then to the board meeting he was supposed to attend. Finally, he tried calling Vanessa back, but she didn't answer. He left a brief message about an emergency situation at a store location. After leaving the coffee shop, Michael found himself standing outside Stellar Toys, a store he had passed countless times but never entered. Now he pushed open the door, feeling completely out of place among the colorful displays. A sales associate approached him. "Can I help you find something, sir?" "I need gifts for 3 10-year-old boys. Triplets," Michael added, still getting used to saying the words. "What are they interested in?" the associate asked. Michael realized he knew nothing about his son's interests. "I'm not sure," he admitted. "What do 10-year-old boys typically like?" After browsing several suggestions, Michael settled on 3 identical beginner telescope kits. The astronomy sets seemed educational but fun, something he would have loved at their age. At 7 o'clock exactly, Michael stood outside Chloe's apartment door in a modest building in North Seattle. He had changed into more casual clothes, jeans and a simple blue sweater, and carried a large bag containing the telescope kits. He took a deep breath and knocked. Chloe opened the door, looking different in her home environment. She wore jeans and a simple green t-shirt, her curly hair loose around her shoulders. The apartment behind her was small but tidy, with school books and sports equipment neatly organized in bins. "Come in," she said. "The boys are washing up. I told them we have a guest for dinner, but that's all for now." Michael stepped inside, immediately noticing the family photos on the walls. The triplets through various ages, as toddlers with identical grins, starting kindergarten with matching backpacks, playing soccer in matching uniforms. "They look happy," he said quietly. "They are," Chloe replied. "I've done my best." "It looks like your best was pretty amazing," Michael said sincerely. Before Chloe could respond, 3 identical boys appeared from the hallway. Seeing them together, standing in a row, was overwhelming. Michael could now see subtle differences between them. Jaden stood slightly in front, his posture protective. Mason wore glasses and studied Michael with obvious curiosity. Tyler hung back slightly, watching carefully. "Boys, this is Mr. Thompson," Chloe introduced. "He's the owner of Mountain Brew Coffee where I work." "You're the man who helped Mom when that mean lady threw coffee at her," Jaden said, his tone somewhere between accusatory and grateful. "I am," Michael confirmed, "and I'm very glad I was there to help." "Why are you at our house?" Mason asked directly. "Mason," Chloe scolded gently, "remember your manners." "It's okay," Michael said. "That's a fair question. I wanted to make sure your mom was doing all right after what happened today, and I brought something for you 3. He held out the bag of telescope kits. The triplets looked to Chloe, who nodded permission. Tyler reached for the bag first, peering inside with growing excitement. "Telescope kits!" he exclaimed, pulling one out. His brothers crowded around as Michael handed each boy an identical box. "Do you like astronomy?" Michael asked. "We're learning about stars in science class," Mason said, examining the box carefully. "Did you know there are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on all the beaches on Earth?" "I did know that," Michael smiled. "When I was your age, I had a telescope too. I used to watch the night sky for hours." "Really?" Tyler asked, looking up with new interest. "Really?" Michael confirmed. "Maybe someday we could stargaze together." "Dinner's ready," Chloe announced. "You can open those after we eat." At the small dining table, Michael sat across from Chloe with the triplets lined up on the other sides. The spaghetti was simple but delicious, and Michael noticed how Chloe had developed a smooth routine with the boys, reminding Tyler to eat his vegetables, praising Mason for setting the table, and giving Jaden the responsibility of filling water glasses. "Do you own all the Mountain Brew stores?" Mason asked between bites. "Yes," Michael answered. "There are 67 locations now, mostly on the West Coast." "That means you're rich," Jaden stated bluntly. "Jaden," Chloe warned. "It's okay," Michael said again. "Yes, the business has been successful, but I started small with just one coffee shop near the university." "Our university?" Chloe asked, speaking for the first time during the meal. Michael nodded. "That's right." "Is that where you met our mom?" Tyler asked innocently. The table fell silent. Michael looked at Chloe, uncertain how to respond. "Yes," she answered finally. "Mr. Thompson and I knew each other in college." "Were you friends?" Mason asked, his analytical mind clearly connecting dots. "We were," Michael said carefully. "Good friends, actually." After dinner, the boys eagerly opened their telescope kits on the living room floor while Chloe and Michael cleaned up in the kitchen. "They seem like great kids," Michael said quietly. "They are," Chloe agreed. "Jaden is the protector, always looking out for his brothers. Mason is our scientist, always asking questions. And Tyler is the sensitive one. He notices everything but says the least." "I see a lot of you in them," Michael observed. "But they look like you," Chloe finished, "especially around the eyes." From the living room they heard Jaden call out, "Mom! Mr. Thompson! Come see!" The triplets had partially assembled one telescope and were examining the instruction manual together. "This says we can see craters on the moon with this model," Mason explained excitedly. "And Jupiter's moons on clear nights," Michael added, kneeling beside them to help with assembly. For the next half hour, Michael showed the boys how to properly set up their telescopes. The initial awkwardness faded as they worked together. Even Jaden seemed to drop his guard slightly as Michael taught them how to focus the lens properly. As the evening progressed, Chloe noticed Tyler staring at Michael with increasing intensity. Finally, as they were testing the viewing scope, Tyler spoke up. "Your eyes look like ours." The room went completely silent. Michael froze, his hand still on the telescope. Mason stopped reading the star chart. Jaden's head snapped up, looking first at Tyler, then at Michael, then at their mother. "Mom says we got our eyes from our dad," Jaden said slowly. Then, with the directness of a 10-year-old, he asked the question that changed everything. "Are you our dad?" Michael looked at Chloe, not wanting to answer without her permission. She gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. "Yes," Michael said, his voice steady despite his pounding heart. "I am your father." The boys' reactions were exactly as different as their personalities. Mason's eyes widened with surprise, then narrowed in thought, processing this new information. Tyler's mouth opened slightly, a tentative hope appearing on his face. And Jaden, protective, suspicious Jaden, crossed his arms and stepped closer to his mother. "Where have you been all this time?" Jaden demanded, his young voice cracking slightly. "That's a complicated story," Michael began, "but the simple truth is that I didn't know about you boys until today at the coffee shop. If I had known, I would have been here." "Really?" Tyler asked, hope now fully visible in his expression. "Really," Michael confirmed. "Finding out about you three is the most amazing surprise of my life." "How do we know you're telling the truth?" Jaden challenged. "You might just be saying that because you feel sorry for us." "Jaden," Chloe intervened, "Mr. Thompson, your father, is telling the truth. There were complications that kept him from knowing about you. But now he does know, and he's here." The room fell silent again as the triplets absorbed this information. The half-assembled telescopes lay forgotten on the floor. Outside, car headlights briefly illuminated the living room as a vehicle pulled up in front of the apartment building. "Do we have to call you Dad now?" Mason asked practically. "You can call me Michael until you're comfortable with anything else," Michael answered honestly. Before anyone could say more, there was a sharp knock at the door. Chloe frowned, not expecting any visitors. She opened the door to reveal an elegant woman in a designer suit, her perfectly styled hair framing an extremely unhappy expression. "I'm looking for Michael Thompson," the woman said coldly. "His phone says he's at this address, and I'd like to know why my fiancé is spending the evening in a strange apartment instead of at our dinner with the mayor." "Vanessa," Michael said, standing up quickly. "I can explain." The elegant woman in the doorway looked past him to the three identical boys on the floor with telescope kits, then to Chloe standing awkwardly by the door. "Please do explain," Vanessa replied, her voice tight with controlled anger. "The mayor asked about you twice tonight." Michael turned to Chloe. "This is Vanessa Hartley, my fiancé. Vanessa, this is Chloe Matthews and her sons, Jaden, Mason, and Tyler." "Our sons," Jaden corrected firmly, crossing his arms. Vanessa's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose dramatically. Excuse me? Perhaps we should talk outside, Michael suggested, gently guiding Vanessa toward the door. I think that's best, Chloe agreed, looking uncomfortable. Boys, please start getting ready for bed while I speak with Mr. Thompson and Ms. Hartley. In the hallway outside Chloe's apartment, Vanessa pulled away from Michael's hand. What is going on? Why did that child say our sons? Michael rubbed his forehead. Something unexpected happened today. I discovered I have children, triplet sons. Those 3 boys in there are mine. Vanessa stared at him in shock. That's impossible. You would have told me if you had children. I didn't know until today, Michael explained. Chloe and I dated in college. After we broke up, she found out she was pregnant. She tried to contact me, but my parents intercepted her messages. I never knew about the pregnancy until I saw the boys today. So your ex-girlfriend shows up with 3 children and you just believe they're yours? Vanessa's voice rose slightly. They have my eyes, Vanessa. My face. Anyone can see it. Michael sighed. Plus, the timing fits. Chloe has no reason to lie. You missed dinner with the mayor of Seattle, a dinner I arranged months ago, because of this? Vanessa's perfectly manicured hand gestured toward the apartment door. Yes, Michael said simply. Finding out I'm a father seemed more important. Chloe stepped into the hallway, closing the apartment door behind her. The boys are getting ready for bed. They have questions, but I told them we all need time to process this. Vanessa gave Chloe a cold look. This is quite convenient timing, isn't it? Just as Mountain Brew is expanding nationally, a barista claims her children belong to the CEO. Vanessa, stop, Michael said firmly. Chloe didn't seek me out. I happened to visit her store during an incident. She never planned for me to find out about the boys. I've raised them alone for 10 years, Chloe added quietly. I don't need anything from Michael. But the boys deserve to know their father. Vanessa's phone chimed with a text message. She glanced at it and sighed. The mayor's wife wants to reschedule. I need to handle this. She turned to Michael. We'll discuss this situation later. Privately. After Vanessa left, Michael and Chloe stood awkwardly in the hallway. I should go, Michael said finally. This is a lot for one evening. For everyone. Yes, Chloe agreed. The boys need time to process what they learned tonight. Can I see them again soon? Michael asked. Let's talk tomorrow, Chloe suggested. I work the morning shift, done at 2 o'clock. Michael nodded. I'll come by the coffee shop then. The next morning, Michael walked into the Mountain Brew headquarters conference room 15 minutes late for the executive team meeting. Conversation stopped as he entered. Sorry I'm late, he said, taking his seat at the head of the table. Sandra Lopez, the chief financial officer, looked at him with concern. Everything okay, Michael? It's not like you to miss the dinner with the mayor or be late for morning meetings. I'm handling a personal matter, Michael replied vaguely. Let's focus on business. Where are we with the Chicago expansion? After the meeting, Michael's assistant, Brian, followed him to his office. Sir, you have 27 messages. The most urgent are from Miss Hartley, your parents, and the board chairman. Thank you, Brian. Hold my calls unless it's from Chloe Matthews at the Greenwood store. I'll need a car to take me there at 1:30. Yes, sir, Brian replied, clearly curious but professional enough not to ask questions. Alone in his office, Michael finally returned Vanessa's calls. I'm at a charity luncheon cleaning up your mess with the mayor, she answered coldly. Where are you? At the office, Michael replied. Vanessa, we need to talk about what happened last night. Yes, we certainly do. Dinner at my place, 7 o'clock. Don't be late this time. Before Michael could respond, she hung up. At the Greenwood Mountain Brew location, Chloe wiped down counters while trying to ignore the whispers from customers. That's her, the one from the video, a woman at a nearby table said, not nearly as quietly as she thought. The viral video of Patricia's coffee-throwing incident and subsequent apology had spread quickly online. Chloe had already received 4 friend requests from strangers on social media. Darren approached her behind the counter. "Hey, Chloe, you got a call from HR at headquarters. They want to set up a meeting with you tomorrow." Chloe frowned. "HR? Am I in trouble because of the video?" "I don't think so," Darren said. "They mentioned something about a potential promotion? Director of Employee Experience or something?" Chloe was still processing this information when Michael arrived at exactly 1:30. He wore a casual button-down shirt instead of his usual suit. "Can we talk outside?" he asked. They sat at a small table on the coffee shop's patio. "I'd like to spend time with the boys," Michael said directly. "Get to know them." "They have questions," Chloe responded, "especially Jaden. He kept me up half the night asking why you suddenly appeared after 10 years. What did you tell him? The truth, that you didn't know about them, and now you do." Chloe sighed. "Mason is researching biological fathers online. Tyler asked if you're going to live with us now." Michael winced. "I've been thinking about practical steps. I've looked at houses for rent in your neighborhood so I can be close to them." "A house? You're moving?" Chloe looked surprised. "Not permanently, but I want somewhere the boys can visit. Somewhere with a yard, separate bedrooms for when they're ready for overnight stays." "Michael, this is happening very fast," Chloe cautioned. "The boys just met you yesterday." "I've missed 10 years, Michael replied. "I don't want to miss any more time." "And what about your fiancé?" Chloe asked. "How does Vanessa feel about all this?" Michael looked away. "We're talking about it tonight." "I see," Chloe said, though her expression suggested she saw more than Michael was saying. "About the HR call," Michael changed subjects. "I suggested you for a new corporate position, Director of Employee Experience. After what happened with Patricia Whitfield, I realized we need someone who understands what our frontline staff go through." "Is this because of the boys?" Chloe asked directly. "Are you offering me a job because you feel guilty?" "No," Michael insisted. "It's because you're qualified. You've managed this location effectively for 3 years. You have a college background. You understand our business from the ground up." Chloe didn't look convinced. "I appreciate the thought, but my life is structured around the boys. I can't work downtown with their school schedule." "The position would have flexible hours," Michael countered, "and better pay." "I'll think about it," Chloe finally said. 3 days later, Chloe's phone rang while she was preparing dinner. The caller ID showed Michael Thompson. "Hello?" "Chloe, I have tickets to the Mariners game tonight," Michael said excitedly. "Box seats." "I thought the boys might enjoy it." Chloe frowned. "Tonight?" "It's a school night, Michael. It's their first home game of the season. I could pick them up in 30 minutes? "You can't just decide things like this without asking me first," Chloe said firmly. "The boys have homework. They need dinner." "They can eat at the game," Michael suggested. "Hot dogs, nachos. Kids love ballpark food." "That's not the point," Chloe replied, her frustration growing. "We need to discuss these things in advance. We need boundaries." "You're right," Michael conceded. "I'm sorry. What about Saturday? The Mariners play at 1 o'clock. Chloe sighed. "Saturday would be fine, but Michael, we need to establish some ground rules about the boys." "Agreed. Can we discuss it on Saturday? I could come by around 11. We'll talk before the game." "Okay, Saturday at 11. After hanging up, Chloe noticed Tyler standing in the kitchen doorway. "Was that our dad?" he asked hopefully. "Yes," Chloe answered. "He wants to take you boys to a Mariners game on Saturday." Tyler's face lit up. "Really? Cool. I'll tell Jaden and Mason." As Tyler ran off excitedly, Chloe felt a mix of emotions. She wanted the boys to have a relationship with their father, but Michael's sudden involvement was disrupting the careful life she'd built. At 7 o'clock that evening, Michael sat across from Vanessa at her elegantly set dining table. Her downtown condo offered spectacular views of Seattle, but tonight neither of them was admiring the scenery. "I found a house to rent," Michael told her, "in Greenwood near Chloe and the boys." Vanessa set down her wine glass carefully. "You're moving out of your condo?" What about our plans to look at houses in Madison Park after the wedding? This is temporary, Michael explained. Just somewhere I can spend time with the boys. Our wedding is in 7 months, Vanessa reminded him. How does this fit into our plans? I don't know yet, Michael admitted. Everything has happened so quickly. Michael, you need to think about your responsibilities. To me, to the company. The board meeting this morning was filled with questions about your personal situation after that video went viral. Michael's phone buzzed with an incoming call. The screen showed Chloe. I need to take this, he said, standing up. It might be about the boys. Vanessa's expression hardened as Michael walked to the balcony to answer the call. Chloe? Is everything okay? Jaden got into a fight at school today. Chloe's voice sounded tired. Another boy made comments about the video of me getting coffee thrown at me. Jaden punched him. Is he okay? Michael asked with concern. Yes, but the principal wants to meet with us tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Us? Michael repeated. Yes, Chloe confirmed. Jaden told the principal you're his father. The school needs to update their records anyway now that you're involved. I'll be there, Michael promised. When he returned to the table, Vanessa was staring at her plate. You need to choose, Michael, she said quietly. The life we planned together, or this new situation with your children. I won't be part of a divided life. Michael sat down heavily. 3 phone calls from his parents remained unanswered on his phone. The board chairman had requested a private meeting tomorrow, and now his son, was in trouble at school and needed him. For the first time in his adult life, Michael Thompson had no clear plan for what came next. Michael stared at his untouched dinner as Vanessa's words hung in the air. Before he could respond, his phone rang again. The screen displayed "Mom calling." You should get that, Vanessa said coldly. Perhaps your mother can help you sort out your priorities. Michael reluctantly answered. Hello, Mom. Michael, what is going on? Eleanor Thompson's voice was sharp. Your father and I just got a call from Barbara Wilson who saw some video online. She claims you have secret children with some coffee shop girl? Please tell me this is just ridiculous gossip. It's not gossip, Mom. Michael stepped away from the table. I have sons, triplets, and you know exactly who their mother is. Chloe Matthews, my college girlfriend. There was a long pause before his mother spoke again. That girl we warned you about? Michael, be reasonable. She's clearly after your money now that you're successful. She didn't come looking for me, Mom. I discovered them by accident. Michael's voice hardened. And Chloe told me she tried to contact me when she found out she was pregnant. She came to the house, sent letters. Did you intercept those messages? His mother's hesitation told him everything. We were protecting you from a mistake that would have ruined your future, she finally said. You kept me from my children for 10 years, Michael replied, his voice shaking with anger. I have to go. We'll discuss this later. He returned to the table where Vanessa sat waiting. My parents knew, he told her. They kept Chloe from contacting me when she was pregnant. That doesn't change the choice in front of you now, Vanessa said. Our wedding is in December. I need to know if that's still happening. I need time to figure this out, Michael replied. I just discovered I'm a father. Vanessa stood up and removed her engagement ring, placing it on the table. When you make your decision, you know where to find me, and this. At 8 o'clock the next morning, Michael sat beside Chloe in the principal's office at Westview Elementary School. Jaden sat across from them, looking down at his shoes. Principal Davis reviewed a report on her desk. According to the playground supervisor, Jaden punched Kevin Miller after Kevin made comments about the viral video showing Ms. Matthews at work. He said Mom deserved to get coffee thrown at her because she's just a stupid barista, Jaden mumbled. He said his mom saw the video and said rich people can't get good service anywhere anymore. Michael felt his fists tighten involuntarily. Chloe placed a gentle hand on Jaden's shoulder. Violence is never acceptable no matter what was said, Principal Davis continued. However, given that this is Jaden's first offense and the provocation involved his mother, I'm assigning 3 days of lunch detention rather than suspension." "Thank you," Chloe said. "We'll talk with him about better ways to handle these situations." "I need to update our records," Principal Davis added, turning to Michael. "Mr. Thompson, Jaden tells me you're his father. We'll need to add you to the emergency contact list and parent portal access." "Yes, I'd like that," Michael confirmed, "for all 3 boys." As they completed the paperwork, a teaching assistant entered with a message for Principal Davis. The young woman glanced at Michael, then did a double take. "You're Michael Thompson," she said, "the Mountain Brew CEO." Michael nodded politely as Principal Davis accepted the message. "My boyfriend works at your Capitol Hill location," the assistant continued. "Everyone's talking about the viral video and—" "Oh." She looked at Chloe, then at Jaden, clearly making connections. After they left the office, Michael walked Chloe and Jaden to the school entrance. "I'll pick the boys up for the Mariners game on Saturday as we planned," Michael said. "That sounds good," Chloe replied. "Jaden, say goodbye to your father." Jaden looked up at Michael. "Bye," he said quietly, then added, "Are you really going to come on Saturday?" "Absolutely," Michael promised. "I'm looking forward to it." As Michael headed toward his car, his phone buzzed with a news alert. He opened it and froze. "Mountain Brew CEO's secret family revealed," the headline declared. Below was a photo someone had taken of him at the school, with Chloe and Jaden partially visible. The article began, "Mountain Brew Coffee CEO Michael Thompson, engaged to Vanessa Hartley of Hartley Investments, was spotted at a local elementary school with an employee from one of his coffee shops and her son, rumored to be Thompson's previously unknown child." Michael immediately called Brian. "Get my attorneys on the phone and reschedule my meeting with the board chairman. I need to handle something personal." By noon, the story had spread to every business news outlet. Michael's phone was flooded with messages from business associates, friends, and his increasingly frantic parents. He ignored them all as he drove to the house he had arranged to rent in Chloe's neighborhood. The property manager met him with keys and rental documents. 3-bedroom, fenced backyard, walking distance to Westview Elementary as requested, she summarized. The lease is for 6 months with option to extend. Michael looked around the empty house, mentally planning furniture for the boys' bedrooms. His phone rang again. This time, it was the board chairman. "Michael, we need to meet today," Charles Wilson insisted. "The board is calling an emergency meeting about this situation. It's affecting our stock price." "I'll be there at 4 o'clock, Michael replied. "But Charles, my personal life is not up for board approval." After hanging up, Michael drove aimlessly, needing time to think. Without conscious planning, he found himself on the coastal highway heading north of the city. 20 minutes later, he pulled into a scenic overlook with views of Puget Sound. This spot held memories. He and Chloe had come here often in college, sitting on the hood of his old car, talking about their future. It was at this very overlook that he had first told Chloe he loved her 11 years ago. To his surprise, a familiar blue sedan was already parked in the small lot. Chloe sat on a bench facing the water, her work apron still on, as if she had driven straight from her shift. "Chloe?" Michael approached cautiously. She turned, unsurprised to see him. "I figured you might come here eventually." "You remember this place?" Michael said, sitting beside her. "Of course I do." Chloe stared out at the water. "Have you seen the news?" "Yes," Michael nodded. "I'm sorry. I never wanted to drag you and the boys into a media circus." "Tyler came home from school crying today," Chloe said quietly. "A teacher had the news open on her computer and he saw his drawing." "His drawing?" Michael asked, confused. "The family picture he drew that night you came to dinner. The one he left at your office when you showed the boys your workplace last week. It's in all the articles, evidence of CEO's secret family, or something equally dramatic." Michael closed his eyes. "I'm so sorry. I had it on my desk. Vanessa must have given it to the press. Tyler thinks this is all his fault. He thinks his drawing caused problems between you and your fiancée." "None of this is his fault," Michael insisted. "I'll talk to him." They sat in silence for several minutes, watching the waves. "What are we going to do, Michael?" Chloe finally asked. "The boys were just starting to get used to the idea of having you in their lives. Now there are reporters asking questions, parents at school whispering. It's too much." "I'm meeting with the board this afternoon," Michael replied. "I'm going to make it clear that my family, you and the boys, are not a corporate issue to be managed. They're part of my life now." "And Vanessa?" Chloe asked cautiously. "She gave me a choice," Michael said simply. "I think she already knows what I've decided." Michael's phone rang again, his father this time. He silenced it. "Your parents are going to be part of this too," Chloe pointed out. "The boys will eventually want to meet their grandparents." "My parents lied to me for 10 years. Michael's voice hardened. "They kept my children from me. Trust me, I understand being angry with them," Chloe said. "But they're still the boys' grandparents. We'll need to figure out how to handle that too." Michael noticed how naturally Chloe said "we." Despite everything, they were already functioning as partners in this complicated situation. "One step at a time," Michael suggested. "First, I'll deal with the board and the press. Then I'll talk to Tyler about the drawing. We'll handle the Mariners game on Saturday as planned, give the boys something positive to focus on. And I'll tell the boys that sometimes adults make mistakes, but you're committed to being their father now," Chloe added. As they prepared to leave the Overlook, Michael's phone rang once more. It was Charles Wilson again. "The board meeting has been moved up. They're all waiting in the conference room." "I'm on my way," Michael replied. He turned to Chloe. "I need to go." "But Chloe, thank you for meeting me halfway on all of this. You could have made this much harder." "We're past the point of making things difficult for each other," Chloe said. "The boys need us both working together." As Michael drove back toward Seattle, he felt a clarity he hadn't experienced since the moment he first saw the triplets in the coffee shop. The board would have to accept his new reality. Vanessa would have to understand his choice. His parents would need to recognize their grandchildren. The past 11 years couldn't be recovered, but the future, that was still being written, and Michael was determined that his sons would be at the center of that story. When he arrived at Mountain Brew headquarters, the entire executive team and board of directors were waiting in the conference room. Through the glass walls, Michael could see Vanessa sitting beside her father, Robert Hartley, one of the company's biggest investors. Michael straightened his tie and walked in to face whatever came next. The decisions he made in this room would reshape not just his life, but the lives of 3 10-year-old boys who were just beginning to know their father. The board meeting lasted almost 3 hours. Michael remained calm as board members questioned the potential impact of his personal situation on the company. "My private life should not be a corporate concern," Michael stated firmly. "However, I understand the media attention affects Mountain Brew. That's why I'm taking a temporary leave of absence as CEO." Shocked murmurs filled the room. Robert Hartley, Vanessa's father, leaned forward. "And who exactly will run this company during your personal time?" "Sandra Lopez will serve as acting CEO," Michael replied, nodding toward his chief financial officer. "She's been with Mountain Brew for 8 years and knows our operations completely." After the meeting, Vanessa followed Michael to his office. "A leave of absence? You're really choosing them over everything we've built?" Michael closed the door for privacy. "I'm choosing to be present for 3 boys who need their father. I missed 10 years, Vanessa. I can't miss any more." "And our engagement?" Vanessa asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. Michael gently took her hand. "You deserve someone who puts you first. That can't be me right now." Vanessa pulled her hand away. "My father will withdraw his investment in Mountain Brew." That's his decision, Michael replied calmly. I hope he bases it on business factors, not personal ones. You'll regret this, Michael. Vanessa walked to the door, then turned. Those boys and their mother will never fit into your world. After she left, Michael called Sandra to discuss the transition plan. Then he texted Chloe, "Board meeting over. Taking leave from company, moving into rental house tomorrow. Can we talk tonight?" Chloe's reply came quickly. "Boys are still at school. Come by at 4. At Chloe's apartment, Michael explained his decisions. I need to focus on building relationships with the boys. The company will be fine without me for a while. You're giving up a lot, Chloe observed. Your fiancé, temporarily stepping away from your company. I'm gaining more, Michael replied. The chance to know my sons. Chloe sipped her tea thoughtfully. The boys have a routine, Michael. School, homework, activities, they can't just suddenly spend all their time with you. I understand, Michael nodded. I thought we could create a schedule. Maybe I could pick them up from school sometimes, help with homework, weekend activities. We can try, Chloe agreed, but slowly. This is all new for them too. They created a simple plan. Michael would take the boys for dinner twice during the week and have them on Saturday afternoons. All visits would be at his new house, with Chloe present at first until everyone felt comfortable. The front door opened and the triplets entered, stopping in surprise when they saw Michael. Dad's here again, Tyler announced happily, the first time he'd used the term dad. Jaden rolled his eyes, still keeping his distance. Mason adjusted his glasses and studied the adults' expressions. Boys, Mr. Thompson, your father, and I have been making plans for family time, Chloe explained. He's moved into a house nearby. The blue one on Maple Street? Mason asked. With the for rent sign that disappeared yesterday? That's the one, Michael confirmed, impressed by Mason's observation skills. It has a backyard and 3 extra bedrooms, one for each of you when you visit. We're going to visit? Tyler's eyes widened with excitement. If you want to, Michael said carefully. Nothing has to happen until you're ready. Jaden crossed his arms. What about your job? And your girlfriend from the other night? I'm taking time off work to focus on getting to know you boys, Michael answered honestly. And Vanessa and I have ended our engagement. Because of us? Jaden pressed. Because I need to be your father first, Michael replied. That's the most important job I have now. The next morning, Michael stood in his empty rental house as furniture was delivered. He'd ordered beds, desks, and bookshelves for the boys' rooms, plus basic living room and kitchen items. As movers carried in a sofa, his phone rang. It was his mother calling for the 5th time that day. With a deep breath, he answered. Hello, Mom. Michael, we need to talk, Eleanor Thompson insisted. Your father and I are coming to your condo right now. I'm not at the condo, Michael replied. I've rented a house near my son's. This has gone far enough, his mother said sharply. You've thrown away your engagement and taken leave from your company over this situation. Text us your new address. We're coming over. An hour later, Richard and Eleanor Thompson arrived at Michael's new house. Eleanor looked around with obvious disapproval at the modest neighborhood. You've left your luxury condo for this? She asked. I've moved here to be near my children, Michael replied firmly. Richard Thompson, a tall man with the same hazel eyes as Michael and the triplets, seemed uncomfortable. Son, we understand you feel some responsibility toward these boys, but they're not just these boys, Michael interrupted. They're your grandsons, Jaden, Mason, and Tyler. They're 10 years old. They like basketball and science and have my eyes and your chin, Dad. Eleanor sat rigidly on the new sofa. Michael, we only wanted what was best for you. By hiding the fact that I had children? Michael's voice rose. By intercepting Chloe's attempts to tell me I was going to be a father? You were just starting your career, his mother defended. That girl wasn't right for you. You weren't ready for a family. "That wasn't your decision to make," Michael said firmly. "I had a right to know about my own children." Richard cleared his throat. "What's done is done. The question is what happens now. Have you considered a DNA test? Just to be certain?" Michael stared at his father in disbelief. "Have you seen photos of them?" "There's no question they're mine." Eleanor's expression softened slightly. "Do you have pictures?" Michael hesitated, then took out his phone. He showed them photos he'd taken at the Mariners game. 3 identical boys in baseball caps, grinning at the camera. His mother's hand trembled slightly as she looked at the screen. "They do look like you at that age." "I want you to meet them," Michael said, "but only if you can accept them completely as your grandsons, and respect Chloe as their mother." Richard nodded slowly. "We can try." "That's not good enough," Michael replied. "These boys have grown up without their father because of your choices. I won't let them feel rejected by their grandparents too." Eleanor handed back the phone. "When can we meet them?" The following week established new patterns. Michael picked the boys up from school on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, bringing them to his house where Chloe would join them after her shift. He learned their individual preferences. Mason loved books about space, Tyler collected baseball cards, and Jaden excelled at basketball but struggled with math. While Mason and Tyler quickly warmed to Michael, Jaden remained distant, watching suspiciously whenever Michael interacted with his brothers. On Thursday evening, as Michael helped Mason with science homework, Chloe pulled him aside. "The boys' basketball coach quit," she whispered. "Family emergency. The team might disband if they can't find someone new." "That would devastate them," Michael replied, glancing at Jaden, who was shooting baskets at the hoop Michael had installed in the backyard. "Especially Jaden," Chloe nodded. "Basketball is his thing." The next day, Michael visited the recreation center where the boys practiced. He spoke with the program director, filled out volunteer forms, and completed a background check. By Monday, he was introduced as the new coach for the Westview Wolves youth basketball team. When Jaden arrived at practice and saw Michael holding a clipboard, he stopped abruptly. "What are you doing here?" "Coach Miller had to leave town for a family emergency," Michael explained. "The team needed a coach, so I volunteered." "You?" Jaden looked skeptical. "What do you know about basketball?" "I played in college," Michael replied. "Point guard for Washington Huskies." "Not the starting lineup," he added honestly, "but I know the game." The other boys on the team watched this exchange with interest. Jaden stood frozen, clearly conflicted between his love for basketball and his resistance to Michael. "We have our first game on Saturday," Michael continued calmly. "Everyone needs to practice passing drills today." He tossed a ball to Jaden, who caught it reflexively. For a moment, Jaden seemed ready to drop the ball and walk away. Then, with a barely perceptible nod, he dribbled toward the court where his teammates were gathering. During practice, Michael gave equal attention to all players, but he couldn't help noticing Jaden's natural talent. The boy had excellent ball control and spatial awareness. "Good anticipation on that pass, Jaden," Michael called out during a drill. "That's exactly what we need in a game situation." Jaden didn't acknowledge the praise, but Michael noticed his posture straighten slightly. At the end of practice, as players dispersed to waiting parents, Jaden lingered on the court, taking extra shots. Michael collected equipment quietly, giving his son space. Finally, Jaden approached, basketball tucked under his arm. "My jump shot is off to the right sometimes," he said, not making eye contact. "Coach Miller said I need to adjust my elbow position." Michael recognized the question hidden in the statement. "Want me to take a look at your form?" Jaden shrugged as if it didn't matter. "If you want." For the next 15 minutes, Michael observed and made subtle suggestions as Jaden practiced shooting. When Chloe arrived to pick him up, Jaden was demonstrating his improved technique. "Did you see that?" he asked as the ball swished through the net. "Dad showed me how to keep my elbow in." The word "dad" had slipped out naturally. Michael felt his heart swell but kept his expression casual. not wanting to make Jaden self-conscious. Chloe smiled at both of them. "Looks like you fixed your shot problem." In the parking lot, as they prepared to leave, Jaden hesitated. "Practice tomorrow, same time?" 4 o'clock sharp, Michael confirmed. "Don't be late." For the first time, Jaden gave Michael a small, genuine smile before climbing into Chloe's car. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was a beginning. 6 weeks after that first basketball practice, Michael stood on the sidelines watching the Westview Wolves play their 6th game of the season. The team had won 4 of their previous 5 games, and today they were ahead by 8 points. "Pass to Tyler," Michael called out as Jaden dribbled down the court. To his surprise, Jaden actually listened, passing the ball to his brother who was open near the basket. Tyler caught it cleanly and made the shot. "Great teamwork!" Michael yelled, clapping his hands. In the bleachers, Chloe sat with Mason, who preferred books to basketball but always came to support his brothers. She gave Michael a thumbs up, acknowledging how far they had come since that awkward evening when he first learned about the triplets. After the final whistle, the team gathered around Michael for a post-game talk. "That was excellent ball movement today," he told them. "Especially you, Jaden. You're learning to see the whole court." Jaden tried to hide his smile, but Michael caught it. These small moments of connection had been building over the weeks. A shared laugh during practice, a high five after a good play, Jaden actually listening to coaching advice. As the team dispersed to their waiting parents, Tyler wrapped his arms around Michael's waist in a quick hug. "Did you see my shot, Dad?" "I sure did," Michael replied, still getting used to being called Dad so naturally. "Perfect form." Jaden approached more casually. "Coach Miller came back to town. I saw him at the grocery store with his mom. Is he going to take over the team again?" Michael heard the real question beneath Jaden's words. "Coach Miller moved to Portland permanently. The team is stuck with me for the rest of the season." "Good," Jaden said simply, before walking toward Chloe's car. Later that evening, Michael sat at his desk in the home office he had set up. His laptop showed a video call with Sandra Lopez, the acting CEO of Mountain Brew. The board approved the Respect Program initiative, Sandra reported. "We'll begin rolling it out next month in all locations." "Excellent," Michael replied. "Did they approve the Director of Employee Experience position too?" "Yes, but there was discussion about whether Chloe should be offered the role directly or if we should open it to other candidates." Michael frowned. "Chloe is the most qualified. She understands the frontline employee experience better than anyone at headquarters." "I agree," Sandra said, "but some board members are concerned about the appearance of favoritism given your personal connection." "She'd report to you, not me," Michael pointed out, "and I'm on leave anyway." "I'll support her appointment," Sandra promised. "How's everything going with the boys?" Michael smiled. "Better every day. We're getting to know each other. Jaden's finally warming up to me. Tyler treats me like I've always been here. Mason asks approximately 500 questions daily about everything from genetics to why I prefer dark roast coffee. Sounds like progress," Sandra laughed. "When are you introducing them to your parents?" Michael's expression darkened. "That's complicated. They want to meet the boys, but I'm still angry about what they did." "Understandable," Sandra nodded. "But children benefit from extended family." "That's what Chloe says too," Michael admitted. "We'll figure it out." The next morning, Chloe arrived at Mountain Brew headquarters for an interview. The gleaming glass building in downtown Seattle was very different from the cozy neighborhood shop where she worked. She wore a simple black dress she had purchased specially for this occasion. The receptionist directed her to a conference room where Sandra Lopez waited with 2 other executives. "Thank you for coming in, Chloe," Sandra greeted her warmly. "We've been impressed by your operational expertise at the Greenwood location." "Thank you," Chloe replied, trying to hide her nervousness. "I appreciate the opportunity." As we discussed, the Director of Employee Experience would oversee the new Respect program, focusing on staff training and workplace dignity initiatives, Sandra explained. "Your perspective from the front line would be invaluable." The interview continued for an hour, with questions about Chloe's management experience, ideas for improving employee retention, and how she would handle the transition from store manager to corporate director. One final question, the human resources director said. This position would require occasional travel to other regions. How would that work with your family responsibilities? Chloe had prepared for this. My neighbor Mrs. Jenkins has been helping with childcare for years, and the boys' father is now actively involved in their lives. Between both support systems, I can manage the travel requirements. After the interview, Sandra walked Chloe to the elevator. You did very well. We'll make a decision by Friday. Sandra, Chloe said hesitantly, I need to ask, is this offer because of Michael? Because I don't want special treatment. Michael suggested you initially, Sandra admitted, but your qualifications stand on their own. Your store has the highest employee retention rate in the region. That's what impressed the committee. And that afternoon, Chloe was arranging fresh pastries in the display case at the Greenwood Mountain Brew when a delivery person entered with a large bouquet of flowers. Delivery for Chloe Matthews, he announced. Chloe accepted the flowers with surprise. The card read, Good luck with your interview. The boys and I are proud of you. Michael. As she placed the bouquet on the counter, the door opened again. Chloe looked up to see Patricia Whitfield, the woman who had thrown coffee at her weeks ago. She immediately tensed. Patricia looked different, less polished, more subdued. She approached the counter cautiously. Hello, Chloe, she said quietly. I hope it's okay that I came here. What can I get you? Chloe asked professionally. Nothing, actually. Patricia clasped her hands together nervously. I came to apologize properly. The forced apology Mr. Thompson made me give wasn't sincere. This one is. Chloe remained silent, waiting. I've been in therapy since the incident, Patricia continued. My behavior was inexcusable. I took out my frustration on someone who didn't deserve it. You. I am truly sorry. Thank you for saying that, Chloe replied carefully. I'd like to make amends beyond just words, Patricia added. I'm on the board of several charitable organizations. I'd like to fund an initiative supporting service industry workers, perhaps through Mountain Brew's foundation. Chloe considered this for a moment. That's a generous offer. I'd need to discuss it with the company leadership. Patricia nodded, leaving her business card on the counter. Please let me know. And Chloe, I really am sorry. After Patricia left, Chloe called Michael to tell him about the unexpected visit. Do you think she's sincere? Michael asked. Oddly enough, yes, Chloe replied. She seemed different, humbled. Her public image took a serious hit after that video went viral, Michael observed. But if she wants to fund a service worker initiative, that could genuinely help people. I'll think about it, Chloe said. By the way, thank you for the flowers. You deserve them, Michael replied. How was the interview? Good, I think. They'll decide by Friday. Chloe hesitated. Michael, the boy's birthday is coming up next month. We should start planning. I had some ideas about that, Michael said enthusiastically. There's this amazing indoor adventure park called Ultimate Playground. They have rock climbing, laser tag, virtual reality games. The boys would love it. We usually just have a small celebration at home, Chloe explained. Homemade cake, a few presents, nothing elaborate. But this is their first birthday with me, Michael pointed out. I want to make it special. I understand, Chloe said gently, but bigger isn't always better for kids. They appreciate traditions and familiar things too. You're right, Michael conceded. What if we do both? Your traditional celebration and then something more elaborate another day? That might work, Chloe agreed. Let's ask the boys what they want. Later that evening, as Chloe helped the triplets with homework at the kitchen table, her phone rang. The screen showed Eleanor Thompson calling. The boys looked up curiously. Who's Eleanor Thompson? Mason asked. Your grandmother, Chloe answered honestly. Your father's mother. 3 identical faces registered surprise. "We have a grandmother?" Tyler asked excitedly. "We have Mrs. Jenkins," Jaden said protectively, referring to their elderly neighbor who often watched them. "Mrs. Jenkins is wonderful," Chloe agreed. "But yes, you have biological grandparents too. I should take this call." In the living room, Chloe answered the phone. "Hello, Mrs. Thompson." "Ms. Matthews," Eleanor's voice was formal. "I hope I'm not disturbing you." "Not at all," Chloe replied, equally formal. "What can I do for you?" Richard and I would like to meet our grandsons," Eleanor stated. "Michael mentioned their birthday is approaching. Perhaps that would be an appropriate occasion?" Chloe took a deep breath. "That's a significant step, Mrs. Thompson. The boys have just started building a relationship with their father." "I understand," Eleanor replied, her voice softening slightly. "But they're our family too. Our only grandchildren." "Let me discuss this with Michael," Chloe said. "Meeting you would be another big change for the boys. We need to consider how to introduce you properly." "Of course," Eleanor agreed. "Please let us know what you decide." After ending the call, Chloe returned to the kitchen where 3 curious faces awaited her. "Was that really our grandmother?" Mason asked. "Yes," Chloe confirmed. "She and your grandfather would like to meet you." "Do they have a big house?" Tyler asked. "They do." Chloe nodded, remembering the imposing Thompson family home where she had once been turned away. Jaden watched his mother carefully. "Do you want us to meet them?" Chloe chose her words carefully. "What happened between your father and me was complicated. His parents were part of that complication. But they're still your grandparents, and family is important." "We should talk to Dad about it," Mason suggested practically. Chloe smiled at her thoughtful son. "That's exactly what we'll do." 2 days before the triplets' 11th birthday, Michael arrived at Chloe's apartment with grocery bags full of ingredients. "Dad's here," Tyler called out as he opened the door. Michael smiled at how normal it now felt to be greeted this way. "Morning, buddy? Ready to help make birthday breakfast plans?" In the small kitchen, Chloe was already making coffee. The boys decided they want chocolate chip pancakes for their birthday breakfast. "I brought everything we need," Michael said, unpacking flour, chocolate chips, and maple syrup, "and I got these." He pulled out 3 identical gift bags. "More presents?" Chloe raised an eyebrow. The telescopes were already generous. "Just small things," Michael assured her. "T-shirts with their names on them. For the party." Mason appeared in the kitchen, pushing his glasses up his nose. "Are we really having 2 parties? One here and one at the adventure park?" "That's the plan," Chloe confirmed. "Birthday breakfast and family dinner here on Friday, your actual birthday. Then the adventure park with your friends on Saturday." "And will our grandparents really come to dinner?" Mason asked. Michael and Chloe exchanged glances. They had discussed Eleanor's call extensively, finally deciding to allow a brief first meeting during the birthday dinner. "Yes," Michael answered. "They'll be here for dinner on Friday. They're looking forward to meeting you." Jaden entered the kitchen, his expression cautious. "Why haven't they wanted to meet us before now?" The adults fell silent. It was the question they had hoped to avoid. Michael finally spoke. "It's complicated, Jaden. They didn't know about you boys until recently, just like I didn't." "But you said your parents kept Mom's messages from you," Jaden persisted. "So they knew about us." Michael sighed. "You're right. They did know, and they made a very bad decision to keep that information from me. They've apologized for that, and they want to make things right now." "What if we don't want to meet them?" Jaden challenged. Chloe placed a gentle hand on Jaden's shoulder. "That would be your choice, but family is important, even when relationships are difficult. Sometimes people deserve a second chance." Jaden seemed to consider this. "Like how we gave Dad a second chance." "Exactly." Chloe nodded. "Okay," Jaden decided. "I'll meet them. But I'm watching them closely. Michael smiled at his son's protective nature. That's fair. On Friday morning, the triplets' birthday began with a special breakfast at Chloe's apartment. Michael arrived at 7 o'clock, letting himself in with the key Chloe had given him for emergencies. The boys were still sleeping. They stay up late the night before their birthday every year, Chloe explained as she helped Michael arrange ingredients. It's our tradition. Together, they prepared the kitchen for birthday pancakes. Michael was struck by how comfortably they worked together, moving around the small kitchen in a coordinated dance. I got the job, Chloe mentioned casually as she mixed pancake batter. Sandra called yesterday. I start in 2 weeks. Chloe, that's wonderful, Michael exclaimed, then lowered his voice, remembering the sleeping boys. Congratulations, you deserve it. Thank you, she replied. It's a big change, but I'm ready. The flexible schedule will actually give me more time with the boys. And better pay, Michael added. Have you told them yet? I thought I'd tell them today. A little extra birthday news. At 8:30, the boys emerged from their bedroom, still in pajamas but fully alert. Happy birthday! Michael and Chloe exclaimed together. Chocolate chip pancakes with 11 candles were served, presents were opened, and the day began with laughter. Michael found himself watching Chloe as much as the boys, noticing how her face lit up at their excitement, how she knew exactly what each boy needed before they asked. By evening, the apartment had been transformed for the birthday dinner. Chloe had decorated with 3 different colored themes: blue for Jaden, green for Mason, and red for Tyler, their favorite colors since they were small. It looks great in here, Michael said, helping Chloe arrange plates on the table. Nothing fancy, Chloe replied, but the boys like consistency. Same decorations every year. Speaking of consistency, Michael began carefully, my parents tend to be rather formal. I've asked them to keep things simple tonight, but I should warn you. A sharp knock interrupted him. The triplets, who had been playing a new video game Michael bought them, looked up with curiosity. That must be them, Chloe said, smoothing her dress nervously. Michael opened the door to reveal his parents. Richard Thompson stood tall in an expensive suit, his silver hair perfectly combed. Eleanor wore a designer dress and pearls, looking severely out of place in the modest apartment building. Michael! Eleanor greeted her son with a stiff kiss on the cheek. She handed him a shopping bag from an expensive department store. These are for the boys. Michael led his parents inside where Chloe waited with the triplets standing beside her. The boys had lined up in their usual order, Jaden, Mason, Tyler wearing their new name t-shirts. Mom, Dad, this is Chloe, Michael introduced, and these are your grandsons, Jaden, Mason, and Tyler. Eleanor stared at the triplets, momentarily speechless. The family resemblance was undeniable. Hello, boys, she finally said. Happy birthday. Richard stepped forward, his expression softening. You look just like your father did at your age. Please sit down, Chloe offered, gesturing to the table. Dinner is ready. Eleanor glanced around the small apartment, her gaze lingering on the modest furniture and simple decorations. What a cozy home you have. Chloe caught the underlying judgment but smiled politely. Thank you. It works well for us. During dinner, the conversation remained awkward. Eleanor asked pointed questions about the boys' education and activities. Which private school do they attend? She asked Chloe. Westview Elementary, Chloe replied. It's the public school in our neighborhood. Eleanor frowned slightly. Thompson men have attended Lakeside Academy for 3 generations. Michael intervened. The boys are doing very well at Westview. Mason won the science fair last month. Really? Richard looked at Mason with interest. What was your project about? Mason lit up. I created a water filtration system using household materials. It can clean dirty water enough to be used for plants. Very practical, Richard nodded approvingly. There might be business applications for something like that. Business applications? Tyler asked curiously. The Thompson family business, Eleanor explained. Mountain Brew is just part of it. We have interests in real estate and technology as well. Speaking of which, Richard turned to Michael. "The board chairman called me yesterday. They're eager for your return." "I'm still on leave," Michael replied firmly. "The company is doing fine under Sandra's leadership." After dinner, Eleanor presented each boy with a small box. "These are Thompson family items, for your heritage." The triplets opened their gifts to find identical gold pocket watches with the Thompson family crest. "These belong to your great-grandfather and his brothers," Eleanor explained. "They should go to you now." "Thank you," the boys replied in unison, clearly unsure what to do with such formal gifts. "You know," Eleanor continued, setting down her dessert fork, "Lakeside Academy has an excellent scholarship program. As Thompsons, the boys would certainly qualify. The education there would prepare them for leadership roles in the family businesses." Chloe tensed visibly. "The boys are very happy at Westview." "But surely you want what's best for their future," Eleanor pressed. "Lakeside has connections to the finest universities." Michael noticed Chloe's discomfort and the confused looks on his sons' faces. He placed his napkin on the table and cleared his throat. "Mom, Dad, I need to be clear about something," he said firmly. "Decisions about the boys' education and future are for Chloe and me to make together. While I appreciate your interest in their lives, you're overstepping." Eleanor straightened in her chair. "We simply want what's best for our grandsons." "What's best for them," Michael continued, "is to have grandparents who respect their parents' decisions. Chloe has done an amazing job raising these boys for 10 years without help from anyone in our family." "Michael," his father began, but Michael held up his hand. "I'm still angry about what you did 11 years ago," Michael admitted. "Keeping Chloe's messages from me, denying me the chance to know my sons from birth. That was wrong." A heavy silence fell over the table. The triplets watched wide-eyed as the adult tension filled the room. Eleanor stood abruptly. "I think we should go. This isn't the appropriate time for such discussions." "I'm sorry you feel that way," Michael replied, "but these boundaries need to be clear from the start." After awkward goodbyes, Richard and Eleanor left. The birthday cake remained uncut on the kitchen counter. "I'm sorry about that," Michael said to Chloe and the boys once his parents were gone. "They had no right to question your education or suggest changing schools." "Is that why you got mad at them?" Mason asked. "Because they wanted us to go to a different school?" "Partly," Michael admitted, "but mostly because they weren't respecting your mom's role as your parent. She's made all the important decisions in your lives, and she's done a wonderful job." Chloe looked at Michael with surprise and gratitude. "Thank you for saying that." "It's the truth," Michael replied simply. Tyler, always sensitive to emotional undercurrents, spoke up. "Can we have cake now?" "It's still our birthday." The tension broke as everyone laughed. Chloe lit the candles on the cake while the boys made their wishes and blew them out together. Later, as Michael helped clean up after the boys had gone to bed, Chloe handed him a coffee cup. "What you did tonight," she said quietly, "standing up to your parents for us, that meant a lot." "They needed to hear it," Michael replied. 10 years ago, I let them control my life and lost you because of it. I won't let them try to control our sons." Chloe smiled at his words. "Our sons. That sounds right, doesn't it?" "It does," Michael agreed. "We might have taken a very long detour to get here, but we're finally figuring out how to be a family." The following week brought new beginnings for everyone. Chloe stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom, adjusting a simple blue blazer over her dress. Today was her first day as Director of Employee Experience at Mountain Brew headquarters. "Mom, you look different," Mason observed from the doorway. Chloe smiled at her son. "Good different or bad different?" "Just different," Mason shrugged. "More like the moms on TV who go to office buildings." "Well, I am going to an office building now," Chloe replied, gathering her new laptop bag. "Mrs. Jenkins will pick you boys up from school today. Dad will come by for basketball practice with Jaden and Tyler." "And my science club," Mason reminded her. "Dad hasn't forgotten," Chloe assured him. "He has all 3 of your schedules on his phone calendar." In the kitchen, Jaden was making sandwiches for all 3 boys' lunchboxes, another sign of how their household routines were evolving. Since Michael had entered their lives, Jaden had slowly released some of his self-appointed responsibility for his brothers. "Good luck today, Mom," Jaden said, handing her a travel mug of coffee. "Thank you, sweetheart." Chloe kissed his forehead, then Tyler's, then Mason's. "I'll be home for dinner. Text me if you need anything." As Chloe drove to Mountain Brew headquarters, she felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. The corporate office was far removed from the familiar coffee shop environment where she had worked for years. Sandra Lopez greeted her in the lobby. "Welcome to your first day, Chloe. Ready to transform how we treat our employees?" "Absolutely," Chloe replied with more confidence than she felt. Throughout the morning, Chloe was introduced to department heads and shown to her new office, a small but bright space with a window overlooking downtown Seattle. At noon, she received a text from Michael. "Hope your first day is going well. The boys are proud of you. So am I." Chloe smiled at her phone. In just a few months, they had developed an effective co-parenting relationship that would have seemed impossible when Michael first walked into the coffee shop. Her first meeting as director came that afternoon when she presented the Respect program to regional managers. "The foundation of this program is simple," Chloe explained. "Every employee deserves to be treated with dignity regardless of their position. Our frontline staff face challenges most corporate employees never experience." A middle-aged manager in the back row raised his hand. "With all due respect, Ms. Matthews, have you ever managed multiple locations? How qualified are you for developing company-wide policy?" Sandra Lopez started to intervene, but Chloe held up her hand. "I managed one location for 3 years," Chloe answered calmly. "Before that, I worked as a barista while raising triplets as a single mother. I've been on the receiving end of customer hostility and management policies that don't consider real-world impact. That's precisely why I'm qualified for this role." The room fell silent. Then a woman in the front row began applauding, followed by others. "Well said," Sandra nodded approvingly. That weekend, Michael packed his SUV with camping gear. The Westview Elementary father-son camping trip had been on the calendar for months, but many boys didn't have fathers to take them. As the basketball coach, Michael had volunteered to take not only his own sons, but 2 other boys whose fathers couldn't attend. "Did you pack bug spray?" Chloe asked, bringing out the boys' backpacks. 2 bottles, Michael confirmed, plus sunscreen, first aid kit, and extra socks for everyone. Jaden emerged from the apartment carrying his pillow and sleeping bag. "I packed my pocket knife," he announced proudly. "The small one we practiced with," Michael clarified to Chloe, "with the safety lock." Mason appeared next, his backpack bulging with books. "I brought field guides for bird identification and star maps for night viewing. And I packed extra snacks," Tyler added, carrying a grocery bag. As the boys loaded their gear into Michael's SUV, Chloe pulled him aside. "This is their first overnight trip without me." "We'll be fine," Michael assured her. "It's just 2 nights. The campsite even has cell reception." "I know," Chloe nodded. "It's just a big step." "For them or for you?" Michael asked gently. Chloe smiled ruefully. "Both, I guess. They've never been away from me for that long." "I'll send photos," Michael promised. "Lots of them." The campsite was in a state park an hour from Seattle. As they set up tents, Michael noticed how the triplets worked together. Jaden taking charge of tent poles, Mason reading instructions, and Tyler organizing sleeping bags inside. That evening around the campfire, the boys roasted marshmallows while the other fathers shared stories. When Michael's turn came, he told the boys about his first camping trip with his own father. "I was terrified of the dark," he admitted. "My dad taught me all the constellations to help me feel less afraid. That's why I got you boys those telescopes." Later, as the other campers retired to their tents, Mason approached Michael with serious expression. "Dad, Can I ask you something?" He began hesitantly. "Of course," Michael replied, adding another log to their small fire. "Why didn't you ever look for us?" Mason asked quietly. "Even if you didn't know about us at first, didn't you ever wonder what happened to Mom?" Michael was startled by the directness of the question. He glanced toward their tent where Jaden and Tyler were already sleeping. "I did look for your mom," Michael answered honestly, "about 6 months after we broke up. But she had already left school, and no one knew where she'd gone. But you're rich," Mason persisted. "You could have hired someone to find her." Michael sighed. "You're right. I could have tried harder. The truth is, I was young and afraid of defying my parents. By the time I realized my mistake, I convinced myself it was too late." "Do you regret it?" Mason asked, his young face serious in the firelight. "Every day," Michael replied without hesitation. "I regret missing your birth, your first steps, your first words. I regret not being there when you were sick or scared. I regret every moment I didn't know you existed." Mason considered this. "Mom says everything happens when it's supposed to. Maybe you needed to grow up first." Michael smiled at his son's wisdom. "Maybe you're right." The following day brought hiking, fishing, and swimming in the lake. Michael watched his sons engage with nature and make friends with other boys. Tyler proved to be an excellent fisherman, catching 4 trout for dinner. Jaden led the other boys on a difficult hiking trail, showing unexpected leadership. Mason taught everyone about constellations that night. On Sunday evening, when they returned to Chloe's apartment, the boys tumbled out of the SUV tired and happy, full of stories to share. "Mom!" Tyler exclaimed. "Dad let me cook the fish I caught, all by myself." "I climbed higher than anyone on the big rock," Jaden reported proudly. "We saw 7 different bird species," Mason added. "I recorded them all in my journal." Chloe listened to their excited chatter, meeting Michael's eyes over their heads with a smile of gratitude. The following Tuesday, Michael was surprised to receive a call from his father. "Son, your mother and I would like to have the family for dinner this Sunday," Richard Thompson said. "All of you, Chloe and the boys, too." "I don't know, Dad," Michael replied cautiously. "After what happened at the birthday dinner." "We've had time to reflect," Richard continued. "Your mother found some old photo albums with pictures of you at the boys' age. She thought they might like to see them." Michael was silent, considering the invitation. "We're trying, son," his father added quietly. "Let me talk to Chloe," Michael finally said. When he discussed the invitation with Chloe that evening, she surprised him. "I think we should go," she said. "They're making an effort. The boys should have a relationship with their grandparents, even after how my mother treated you, both now and in the past." "Especially because of that," Chloe replied. "I don't want the boys growing up with family divisions. We can set boundaries while still allowing relationships." The next day at her office, Chloe was even more surprised when her assistant announced, "Patricia Whitfield is here to see you." Patricia entered Chloe's office dressed elegantly but far less ostentatiously than when they first met. "Thank you for seeing me," Patricia began. "I've been following the news about Mountain Brew's Respect program. It's impressive." "Thank you," Chloe replied cautiously. "I've completed my therapy program," Patricia continued. "It's helped me understand my behavior patterns. The coffee shop incident forced me to face some uncomfortable truths about myself." "I'm glad something positive came from it for you," Chloe said sincerely. "That's actually why I'm here." Patricia handed Chloe a folder. "I've established a foundation focused on service industry workers' rights. I'd like Mountain Brew to be our first corporate partner." Chloe opened the folder and reviewed the proposal. "This is substantial. It would fund training programs and support services for workers who experience customer harassment," Patricia explained. "What happened between us could help others." "I'll need to review this with our team," Chloe said, "but I think there's potential here." As Patricia left, Chloe reflected on how much had changed in just a few months. The coffee-throwing incident that had seemed so terrible had set in motion changes that were improving many lives, including her own. 1 year after the coffee shop incident that changed everything, Michael stood in the backyard of his home, adjusting a banner that read, "Happy 12th Birthday." The house, no longer a rental but one he had purchased 3 months ago, was filled with the sounds of pre-party preparation. "Dad! Where did you put the sports equipment for the games?" Jaden called from the garage. "Check the blue bins on the left shelf," Michael answered, stepping back to make sure the banner was straight. Through the kitchen window, he could see Chloe organizing platters of food with his mother, Eleanor. The two women worked side by side now with a cautious but genuine respect that had taken months to develop. Inside the house, Mason was setting up a science demonstration in the corner of the living room, something involving a telescope and star charts for the evening portion of the party. Tyler was arranging a display of his basketball team photos, proudly featuring the championship trophy they had won under Coach Michael's guidance. The doorbell rang, and Michael heard his father's voice greeting the boys. Richard Thompson entered the backyard carrying 3 identical gift bags. "Camping equipment gift certificates," Richard explained when he saw Michael's questioning look. "For our next family trip to Olympic National Park. They'll love that." Michael nodded approvingly. "Much better than the pocket watches last year." Richard smiled ruefully. "Your mother and I are learning." More guests began arriving. Teammates from the boys' basketball team, friends from school, several of Chloe's colleagues from Mountain Brew headquarters. The backyard filled with laughter and conversation. Sandra Lopez arrived with a large cake decorated with basketball, science, and music themes, one for each triplet's passion. The board approved the national rollout of the Respect program, she told Chloe and Michael as she set down the cake. "Starting next month, all 67 locations will have completed the training." "That's wonderful news," Chloe replied. Her position as Director of Employee Experience had transformed from a new initiative to an essential part of the company in just 12 months. The feedback from the pilot locations has been overwhelmingly positive. "Several other restaurant chains have asked to license the program," Sandra added. "You've started something important, Chloe." The doorbell rang again, and Tyler rushed to answer it. He returned with Patricia Whitfield, who looked nervously around the gathering. "Ms. Whitfield," Michael greeted her formally but not unkindly. "Thank you for coming." Patricia handed a gift to Tyler. "Happy birthday. This is for you and your brothers." Tyler peeked inside the bag. "Wow! Gift cards for the virtual reality arcade. Thanks, Miss Whitfield." As Tyler ran to show his brothers, Patricia turned to Michael and Chloe. "Thank you for including me today. I know it might seem odd considering how we met. The Service Workers' Rights Initiative you funded through your foundation has helped hundreds of people," Chloe said, "including many Mountain Brew employees. That matters more than our past." Patricia smiled gratefully. "My etiquette classes for teenagers now include a full section on how to treat service workers with respect. I tell them my story as a cautionary tale." "Everyone deserves a second chance," Michael said, looking meaningfully at his parents who were now playing a yard game with the triplets. "Some of us are fortunate enough to get one." The party continued into the evening. After cake and presents, the guests gathered in the backyard where Mason had set up 3 telescopes, advanced versions of the beginner models Michael had given them when they first met. "If you look through this one," Mason instructed the younger children, "you can see Jupiter's moons." Nearby, Jaden demonstrated basketball handling skills to his teammates, occasionally glancing at Michael for approval. "Your form is perfect," Michael called out, giving his son a thumbs up. Tyler moved between groups, making sure everyone felt included. His natural empathy had blossomed over the past year. As the evening progressed, the guests began to depart. The Thompson grandparents left with promises to visit again soon, hugging each boy without the stiffness that had marked their early interactions. Patricia said goodbye, telling Chloe, "The foundation board meets next week. We'd love for you to join us as an advisor." "I'd be honored," Chloe replied sincerely. By 9 o'clock, Only the immediate family remained. The triplets sat on the living room floor, examining their gifts. Their physical resemblance was still striking, but their individual personalities were more distinct than ever. "My science teacher says my astronomy project might qualify for the state competition," Mason mentioned, adjusting his glasses. "That's great, Mason," Michael said proudly. "We can set up the new telescope this weekend to help with your research." "Coach Peterson from the middle school watched our championship game," Jaden added. "He said I should try out for the advanced team next season." "You've worked hard for that," Chloe acknowledged. "Your dedication is paying off." "And I got an A on my English essay," Tyler announced. "The one I was struggling with before." "The extra help from Mrs. Jenkins made a difference," Chloe smiled, referring to their neighbor who still provided after-school support despite the changes in their family structure. Later, after the boys had gone to bed in their rooms at Michael's house, where they now spent 3 nights each week, Chloe and Michael sat on the porch steps. The spring evening was cool but pleasant. "1 year," Michael mused, looking up at the stars. "It's hard to believe everything changed so quickly." "For the better," Chloe added. "The boys are thriving with you in their lives." "They were already amazing kids because of you," Michael said sincerely. "You did the hard part alone," Chloe smiled. "But now we're doing the rest together, and that makes everything easier." "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't walked into that coffee shop last year?" Michael asked. "Sometimes," Chloe admitted, "but I try not to dwell on what-ifs. We're here now. That's what matters." Michael nodded thoughtfully. "When Jaden was born, well, when all 3 were born, what was it like?" "Terrifying," Chloe laughed. "I went in expecting 1 baby and came out with 3. I was 21, alone, with no idea how to be a mother to triplets." "I wish I had been there," Michael said quietly. "So do I," Chloe replied. "But you're here now. You coached their championship team. You helped Mason with his science project. You worked with Tyler on his reading challenges. You've become the father they needed." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the distant sound of cars and the closer sounds of a house full of sleeping children. "I never thanked Patricia," Chloe realized suddenly. "For throwing coffee at you?" Michael asked incredulously. "No," Chloe laughed, "for being the reason you were at that coffee shop. If she hadn't caused a scene, you might have just ordered your coffee and left without ever noticing me or the boys." Michael considered this. "I like to think I would have recognized you anyway." "Maybe," Chloe agreed. "Or maybe we needed that dramatic moment to bring everyone's attention to what was happening." From inside the house came the sound of a door opening, and Tyler appeared in the doorway in his pajamas. "I can't sleep," he said. "Can we look at the stars through my new telescope?" "Of course," Michael and Chloe answered simultaneously. As the 3 of them set up the telescope in the backyard, the other 2 triplets appeared, also unable to sleep with the excitement of their birthday. "I want to see the moon craters," Jaden requested. "And I want to find Saturn's rings," Mason added. Michael adjusted the telescope while Chloe brought out blankets for them to sit on. The 5 of them, mother, father, and 3 sons, gathered under the night sky, a family that had found its way together despite the unlikely beginning. "Look," Tyler pointed upward, "a shooting star." "Make a wish," Chloe suggested. "I don't need to," Tyler replied, leaning against Michael's shoulder while holding Chloe's hand. "I already got what I wished for last year." As Michael met Chloe's eyes over their sons' heads, he silently agreed. Sometimes the most unexpected beginnings led to the most perfect endings. A coffee spill had created a family, and despite the mess it made initially, the result was something beautiful. 5 lives connected exactly as they were meant to be. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen